Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel today. I'm going to run it back with some of these tier list videos. I know I made a lot last year and you guys seem to really like it. So I'm going to try to objectively rank all of the incoming 2024 rookie quarterbacks on the tier list. As you guys can see, I have generational talent, franchise quarterback, good, has promise, and then my favorite category always, which is ass. I am going to be ranking each of these quarterbacks, giving a little bit of an explanation. But before I do that, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. What I want you guys to do in the comments is I want you to agree or disagree with my ranking of my list. Let me know if you guys have a different quarterback in a different category, etc. But let's go ahead and get into it. So we're not going to start with the sexy names, Caleb, Drake, Jaden. I'm going to go in reverse order, get that good watch time, if you know what I'm saying. So we're going to start with Talia Tagovailoa, the brother of Tua Tagovailoa. And I'm going to be real. He has some promise, and I think that he has promise in the same way that like Brock Purdy had promise, which, again, not a lot of people saw coming into the draft, but he has played so many games. Like, he started a full 4 years at Maryland, and he went to Alabama before that. So he does have a lot of experience. Other than that, though, I don't see a special trait about him. I'm not in love with his arm strength or his accuracy or his mobility. But again, Brock Purdy is another guy that's, like, not really a special player in any of those categories, but his experience is, I think, what allowed him to have early success in the NFL. Again, I think if you're Talia Tagovailoa, your best option is to be like a Brock Purdy type of player. You're not going to go in the first few rounds, probably going to be a 5th, 6th rounder, if I'm being honest with you. But, he's got some promise just due to that experience. Next, we have Sam Hartman, and if we're discounting his looks and his hair, the boy's ass. I'm gonna just keep it a buck with you. The boy's ass. At Notre Dame, they were very conservative offense, I guess you would say. They were not very explosive. I didn't see a lot of NFL caliber traits with him. I don't think he's very good. Again, he doesn't stick out in any particular way. I just think that this is a guy who, quarterback for a big program, is going to declare for the draft, and I just don't see it with Sam Hartman. I think he's going to be like a 6th or 7th rounder, again, unless he is able to schmooze some teams with his phenomenal hair, which he does have phenomenal hair. I can't take that away from him. I kind of think that he's like the slightly worse looking and the slightly worse playing Jimmy Garoppolo, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I think right there. I think they ran about the same time in the 40 as well, which is kind of funny. Sam Hartman, he's not very good. Now, a guy that has some promise is Joe Millen. Now, I'm going to put Joe Millen ahead of Talia Tagovailoa, and there was one reason why Joe Millen has promise. He has a fucking bazooka strapped to his right arm. He does. He has an absolute cannon. I cannot take that away from him. And he's a pretty decent athlete as well. Now, the other attributes of playing quarterback, accuracy, decision-making, ball placement, he's not so good at. Just being real with you. So, if you're going to take Joe Millen in, God, I mean, that arm might get him taken in like the 3rd, round maybe. If you're going to take Joe Millen, you really got to be in your bag developing him. Really got to be in your bag. This is not like I'm going to give an example, Mahomes, where it's like, yeah, the arm is ridiculous and he's got some accuracy issues, blah, blah, blah. It's like Mahomes had a lot of inherent ability for the game. He had a lot of football intelligence. He kind of had good awareness. Joe Millen, to me, doesn't have those attributes. But again, absolute cannon of an arm. I cannot take that away from him. Jordan Travis, I hate to be that guy, and I feel for him, because of the injury and everything like that. But I don't think that he's very good. I think Jordan Travis is probably a good example of a guy who was really good in college and was a very successful college quarterback, but that game probably won't translate to the NFL level. I'm just being real. I could be wrong, but you add the leg injury to that, and mobility was such a big part of his game. You add that broken leg. Maybe he's never the same athletically. I don't know. I can't really speak. I've never broken my leg before. But as of right now, this is not a guy that I would probably draft. He would be, I think, an interesting UDFA, but not a guy that I'd probably draft. I think Jordan Travis belongs in the bottom category. All right, Michael Pratt is a guy that I do think has some promise. Now, I'm going to put him above Joe Millen just because I think that his arm isn't as special. Honestly, if we're going by arm strength, Joe Millen has the best in this class. Michael Pratt, though, he kind of doesn't get a lot of love, being a small school guy. And I want to turn some heads to his game. I want people to start turning his tape on because it's actually pretty good. He's a very interesting, like, 3rd, 4th round guy. He could be this draft's, like, Derek Carr, I don't want to say Dak Prescott. That's probably a high ceiling for him. But, every draft, it seems like there's a guy that goes in like the third, second, whatever round, and they actually turn out to be a pretty damn good quarterback. I would not be surprised at all if that is what Michael Pratt ends up being. He's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. There's not a lot of special, like I've been saying, like special. But again, just a solid quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a pretty good quarterback one day. All right, Spencer Rattler. Ooh, this one to me is very interesting because Spencer Rattler, I'm going to put him in has promise because Spencer Rattler, since he was in high school, was this highly touted recruit, the kid with the big arm. He was on, QB1, the Netflix show. And honestly, when he was in high school and probably when he was at Oklahoma as well, he was kind of a prick, like just being real. So, there are questions about, I think, his leadership, his ability to like rally the troops and unite a team. There are some questions. I do think he's definitely matured since he's become a Gamecock and he's gone to South Carolina. And some of the throws that he makes are ridiculously good. Like, he makes some absolute amazing throws, like when he was getting, tackled or if he's on the run or whatever. There is special in Spencer Rattler. Now, can you get that consistently? Can he be a true leader? Can he, like I said, when the chips are down, can he get your guys going? I don't know. That's, to me, the pushback with Spencer Rattler, and getting some of those bad decisions out. I mean, there were games where he threw, 1, 2, 3 too many interceptions. But there is something special. I would say that Spencer Rattler is almost like an oyster where, like, you're going to have to work hard to get it, but it could be worth it in the end. I'm just saying. I'm not a huge oysters guy, but I think that that's a pretty good example that I just pulled out of my ass for Spencer Rattler. So that's it. J.J. McCarthy. Now, I am a little biased because I know JJ personally, and I say that like I'm best friends with him. I competed against him. The guy's legit. He was definitely better than I was. But I am not going to be on either side of the JJ McCarthy debate. He's not ass, and I don't think he's worth top 10 pick. I think he's somewhere in the middle. Now, if you want an honest evaluation of him, I think, in my opinion, he should go like where Will Levis went last year. Like, pick 35 is perfect. If the Patriots want to take him in the second round, I think that's phenomenal. That is not going to be the case. He is going to go top 15. He is maybe going to go top 10, 11, 12, right? Would not be surprised if the Vikings take him at 11. Would not be surprised if the Broncos take him at 12. What do I like about J.J. McCarthy? Well, J.J. McCarthy is, and this is, ironic because he's white, he's a sneaky good athlete. He is a good athlete, right? He runs really well. He was very agile at the combine. I recently did a video talking about how well he did at the combine, but he interviewed well. Guys seem to really like him. He's a good kid, right? I can say that from personal experience. He's a good kid. So there is some to like with J.J. McCarthy. Unfortunately, though, you look at Michigan, and they did not really rely on his right arm, to be honest. They relied on his legs a decent amount, but they also relied on the legs of Blake Horn. And they also relied on a stupid good defense. And I don't ever want to take away a national championship from a guy because, hey, he deserved it. Hats off to Michigan. They were phenomenal. But we're not getting like I don't even know a good example of this. We're not getting a carry job from our quarterback, right? This wasn't like Bryce Young at Alabama a couple of years ago, right? So there's some good with J.J. McCarthy. His footwork also was really good. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. But I don't know if he is special enough of a thrower. I don't know if he's consistently accurate. I mean, there were some – you watch the Michigan tape, there were some bad misses. There are some bad misses. And I don't want to dog on the guy. I understand it. But, again, early second round is where I would pick him. He's going to go top 15. That should probably tell you a little bit more where I stand. But I think he's good. I think he's, again, a second round guy. Another guy that I think in a similar category is going to be Bo Nix. Now, I actually think that Bo Nix, being a starter, I believe he started the most FBS games of any quarterback ever. I mean, it seems like he's been in college for like 30 years, which is crazy because I even remember him going to Auburn. He has a lot of experience. And I mentioned this with a guy like Talia Tagovailoa. That experience could help him right away in the NFL. He could be better equipped to handle some of those simulated pressures, some of those disguised coverages. And I think that when you look at his film at Oregon, a lot of it was, get the ball to your guys and then let them go yak, right? Troy Franklin's a great example of that. He wasn't necessarily making a lot of, how do I say, NFL throws. Guys were open, a lot of screen passes, a lot of throws behind the line of scrimmage. So I don't think the body of work is really there with Bo Nix to say, yes, this guy can operate an NFL offense. He can make big boy NFL throws. I think that's TBD, right? Big, strong kid, is tough. Obviously, is very experienced. There are things to like. If I were on the clock as a GM and I had my option and I needed a quarterback and I had my option of JJ or Bo Nix, I would take JJ. But again, Bo Nix is probably a half tier behind him, as I have on my list. And I think that, again, probably a mid-second round guy, maybe early second round guy. If the Vikings want to take him out, they have 43 in the second round, I think that'd be fine. I don't think he gets to 43. I think he goes in the first round, because quarterbacks, we all know that quarterbacks are overvalued in the draft. That always happens. So he will be a first rounder, but I don't know if I would have him as a first rounder, to be honest. Let's talk about Michael Penix Jr. This is a guy who lit up the scoreboard at Washington. I mean, it was majestic to watch some of his moon balls just fly all over the turf. And truthfully, the combine was very good for him. He got a clean bill of health. His hands are massive. I mean, I believe he's one of the biggest hands in the history of the NFL combine. 10.5-inch hands, massive. And he threw the ball well. I also think the purple do-rag is dope. So probably just because of that reason alone, we're going to put him in franchise quarterback. Now, I don't want it to be confused. I don't want people to think that I automatically think that he's going to be a stud in the league. There is big risk with his injuries. That is a very legitimate thing. If you told me that Michael Penix does not work out as an NFL quarterback, I would bet good money that it is because, his body just isn't able to hold up. But if he's able to stay healthy, I think this guy could be a phenomenal quarterback in the NFL. I really do think. He's like a souped-up version of Tua. I think he's a better athlete than Tua. I think he's got much better arm strength than Tua. I think he's more accurate. And again, you get him in an offense where he's got some good receivers like he did at Washington, I think he can make magic happen. Now, again, where he's going to go, to me, is very variable. It sounds like right now, J.J. McCarthy is consensus quarterback 4, which that would make Michael Penix in competition for quarterback 5. Do 5 quarterbacks go in the first round? I don't know. He is a guy that I think would definitely be a great get for New England at 35. Because they might pass up a quarterback at 3, right? Maybe Atlanta at 40. Or 43, whatever they have. So it would be interesting to see. But I think Michael Penix can be a franchise quarterback. I hope that he's able to stay healthy. Now for another interesting player. Now we're getting into the big names. We're getting into the big 3. Jaden Daniels. I do think Jaden Daniels can be a franchise quarterback. I have a few reservations that I will mention before I praise him. He needs to stop taking hits. He is too light. He is too thin to be getting crushed by these NFL caliber linebackers and DBs, right, and defensive linemen. There are some cartoonish plays of him in college just getting his ass lit up, fumbling the ball. And I'm not even concerned about him fumbling the ball. I'm worried about his bones getting crushed under the immense weight of these 350-pound defensive linemen. Listen, his comp is Lamar. And one thing I'll say about Lamar's always been good about not getting hit. Lamar's obviously way shit. I'm not saying that's my comp for him. The general consensus comps him to Lamar. Yes, they are both really fast. Lamar is way shiftier, and Lamar is able to evade hits much better. Obviously, Lamar has dealt with injuries as well, but it really hasn't been because Lamar's scrambling and just gets blasted by a safety coming downhill, or he gets, just absolutely demolished by a linebacker. Jaden Daniels has to get better at that, right? I think that his throwing improved drastically once he got to LSU. Now, some of that could be because he's thrown to Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. I get it, but I don't want to take credit away from him. I thought he was really, really good at LSU. Again, if he's going to be a runner in the next level, which is part of his calling card, got to avoid those hits. You cannot consistently take those hits. You will not be upright standing as a quarterback, especially a guy of your frame. Josh Allen could put his head down and go bulldoze a linebacker from time to time. Not recommended, but he's 6'5", 250. He can get away with that shit. Jaden Daniels cannot. He's way too lean. He's way too, frail. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. I'm truly looking out for him. He's going to have to avoid hits, but if he can do that, I think he could be a pretty good quarterback at the next level. All right, now let's get into the big dogs. Caleb Williams, Drake May. These two guys are going to be the first 2 picks in the draft. I am very confident about that. Now, Drake May, I do think, is a certified franchise quarterback. And I don't want this tier list to confuse you. I think that there is a pretty sizable gap between Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I love Drake May. I think in 95% of drafts, he would be a clear-cut consensus #1 overall pick, and nobody would bat an eye. He just so happens to be in the same draft as Caleb Williams, so that's not the case. But the Commanders are going to get themselves a damn good quarterback in Drake May. He is big. He's strong. He makes NFL throws. He has really good accuracy. I think he's got good touch. Again, he's a good athlete. Nothing great by any means. I think that he is awesome. He's just straight up awesome. There's a lot to like with Drake May. Now, I know people who nitpick will say, well, he wasn't phenomenal last year and blah blah blah. North Carolina. He plays for North Carolina. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. If he was playing on Alabama or if he was playing at Ohio State, I mean, Ohio State would have won the fucking national championship if he was with Ohio State last year. But I don't want to discredit guys that go to small schools and don't have a lot of talent around them. I doubt that there were a lot of really solid NFL skill guys that he was thrown to, unlike Malik Neighbors, unlike Michael Penix. Even Caleb Williams had like Brendan Rice and all those guys and Jordan Addison last year. So I think that he's just really, really, really good. He is a A- draft prospect, and again, most years he would go #1 overall. But unfortunately, due to the fact that Mr. Caleb Williams is in this draft, a generational talent. Now, I'm not going to put him in the same tier as like an Andrew Luck, John Elway, Peyton Manning. I'll put him right below that because I think that highly of Caleb Williams. Now, I'm not just saying that because I live in Illinois and he's about to play in my backyard. I truly think that Caleb Williams is special. You look at arm strength, you look like his improvisation, his pocket presence, his anticipation. It's just phenomenal, and I cannot say enough good things about Caleb Williams. People want to poke and pry about his character. Oh, he paints his nails. Oh, he cries. Oh, he didn't do anything at the combine. Ask me how much I care. I mean, I really could not give less of a fuck. He can cry to his mom as much as he wants. He can paint his nail whatever color he wants. If he's doing what he did, if he's doing in the NFL what he did at USC, I don't care. I really do not care. So that is my tier list ranking for every quarterback coming into the NFL draft this year. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace out.